Tech giant Apple has just unveiled the latest line of its flagship product, the iPhone. For all things Apple and the global smartphone market, let's bring in Maribel Lopez, the founder and principal analyst at Lopez Research. Maribel, thanks for joining us. Now, what are the standout features of Apple's newest products? The buzzword, of course, is AI.
Yes, I mean, AI was obviously featured and will continue to be featured for the coming years. I think that's going to be the big innovation for most smartphone manufacturers. But there were a few surprises. I mean, obviously, we expected to have bigger screens, thinner, lighter devices. That happened with the watch. It also happened with the Pro models of the phone, better cameras. But the hearing test, the ability to have a clinically valid hearing aid style software with the watch, sleep apnea, we saw some really interesting health features that I don't think anybody expected. Everybody expects there to be a better camera, a better battery life, bigger screen. That's sort of the typical stuff. What we're starting to see now with the artificial intelligence coming to bear is a much more personalized, contextual experience. And I think that's the area where Apple excels and where everybody's expecting them to push forward.
And is this focus on artificial intelligence something customers are looking forward to, do you think, or is it just part of the expectation at this point?
You know, this is the real interesting thing. I think Apple gets an incredible amount of discussion about how they're late to the market with artificial intelligence, but really are consumers breaking down the doors for artificial intelligence right now? No, they don't know what to do with it. So one of the things I think is so compelling when you see an Apple demo is they just make everything that you were already doing a little easier to do. I can now easily create a video. I can easily find photographs. I can do some of the features that were available in Android, for example, with pointing the camera at something and being able to understand what that is and get more information about it. That visual intelligence I talked about. These are all things that I think real consumers care about. I know they were pushing the envelope with some of the audio and visual features on the iPhone Pro series, but really some of those day-to-day functions of just making it easier to find things and do things, that's unlocking the power of the device. And I think that is the sort of experience that Apple customers expect and are waiting for.
And beyond the AI features, what else stands out to you?
I really do think that we are getting breakthroughs in health at this point, detecting sleep apnea. If you look at something like hearing loss, it's actually a thing that not a lot of people know they have, which they brought up in the discussion about it. But it is a great reason for you to want new AirPods Pro if you do discover that you have an issue with hearing, so you can have that clarity and fidelity to know what's going on around you. I think that could be a real breakthrough that will create a stickiness that has not been seen in many other Apple products aside from the iPhone. So I do think that the health features have broad applicability moving forward and that they'll continue to innovate on that angle. So we're seeing a lot with artificial intelligence that's showing up in both health and isn't showing up in audio visual in smartwatches and phones.
Huawei also launched its new phone and it already has 3 million orders. What does that say about Apple's competitiveness in the global phone market?
I thought the launch of Huawei, when they launched it, was extremely strategic, and the pre-orders actually were meant to show that Huawei was doing very well in the sector and to undermine some of the play that we expected to hear from Apple today. So I think that's been a very successful launch. You know, when you look at this, that foldable category is the tech aspirational category that Samsung and Huawei and others have been playing at for some time. I think it's very interesting that Apple has continued to stay away from the foldable category. And I think what this really speaks to is that while Huawei has really shortened any gaps in terms of between the other competitors and in innovation, that they're actually a high quality aspirational product. It's going to be highly competitive for Apple in that space. But what I also see is that for a mainstream market, foldability isn't exactly what they're looking for at this point in time. It's a very expensive product.
Exactly. And can you talk about that price point for a minute? I mean, given that iPhones are so expensive and the US is already dealing with high inflation and high prices in general everywhere, are the new features enough to get people to upgrade, do you think?
So I think the biggest thing that we saw in this release was that all the chips were better. And right now, AI is all about the chip. So what I think people are looking at is they're looking to invest in a product today that they'll be able to use for 2 or 3 years coming down the pipe. And I think from that perspective, Apple delivered on that product. And an advanced chip was one of the things that people knew that they were going to need if they were going to do more AI going forward. No one knows exactly what they're going to use it for, but they know that they need a higher quality chip to make that happen.
All right, Maribel Lopez, thank you so much for joining us.